When the alien ships first appeared above Earth, the world went silent. Cities that never slept paused, seas that never rested stilled. Humanity looked up, and for the first time in centuries no one had a word to say. Among the millions staring at the heavens that day was a young woman named Lena, standing on the roof of a ruined library. She wasn't a soldier nor a scientist. She was a teacher who used to read stories to children before the war. Her hands trembled as she clutched the only book she had saved, a weathered copy of The Little Prince. And high above, inside the leading ship, the Queen of Ethria, known to her people as Seraphine, watched humanity through a veil of silver mist. Her eyes were not cruel, but they carried the heaviness of command, the burden of decisions that shaped worlds. To the Ethrians, humans were a primitive race, emotional, chaotic, unpredictable. But the Queen had come to judge for herself before deciding whether Earth was to be destroyed, occupied, or spared. Her council expected conquest. She expected confirmation. When her fleet descended into the shattered remains of what once was New York, the humans cowered, some fled, and others stood defiant. Yet it was Lena, small and quiet, who did something no one expected. She bowed. The moment was brief, but it silenced the soldiers, both human and alien. The Queen stepped forward, tall and ethereal, her armor a flowing mirror of light. "You bow to those who conquered you?" she asked, her voice smooth like water over steel. Lena raised her head. Her eyes were filled not with fear, but calm acceptance. "No," she said softly. "I bow to those who choose to listen before they destroy." The Queen paused. For the first time in years, she felt unsure. Seraphine dismissed her guards and studied the human before her. "You think words will save your kind?" Lena nodded. "Words built our world long before we learned to destroy it. And maybe they can rebuild it again." The alien Queen turned her gaze toward the horizon where smoke still rose from distant battles. "You speak as if your species deserves another chance." "Maybe not," Lena said, holding the old book closer. "But we need one." The Queen tilted her head. The human's voice carried something she had not heard in eons, a raw, unfiltered sincerity. "You are brave to speak so." "I'm only human," Lena replied with a small smile. "That's all I have to be." The Queen's ship shimmered behind her, humming with the pulse of alien life. Her generals watched from the ramp, waiting for a command to strike. But Seraphine's eyes lingered on the fragile creature before her, this teacher who bowed not from submission but from belief. "Take her," the Queen ordered suddenly. The soldiers hesitated. "Your Majesty?" "Bring her aboard. I will speak to this teacher." As the humans watched in shock, the great vessel opened, and a beam of soft light enveloped Lena. She disappeared into the unknown, leaving behind only the sound of a closing sky. The next moment, she stood before Seraphine again, this time within the shimmering heart of the alien mothership. Lena should have been terrified, but she wasn't. Instead, she whispered, "If you came to learn who we are, then let me show you." And in that quiet moment, far above the world she called home, something extraordinary began. For the first time, the alien Queen did not see humanity as a threat, nor as prey, but as a mystery worth understanding, and that realization changed everything. The chamber where Lena stood seemed alive. Its walls pulsed faintly, shifting colors like the inside of a living pearl. The air itself shimmered with a soft hum that resonated deep in her chest, as if the ship breathed with its queen. Seraphine descended the steps of her throne, her movements fluid, her long silver robes whispering like water. "You are far from home, teacher," she said. "Do you fear me?" Lena looked up at her, standing small but unshaken. "Should I?" The Queen's lips curved faintly, not quite a smile. "Most who stand before me do. Fear is the oldest language of your kind." Lena's gaze softened. "Maybe, but it's not the only one." A ripple of amusement, or was it curiosity, passed through the Queen's soldiers. None dared to speak. Humans were said to beg or curse when taken aboard. None had spoken with such calm before. Seraphine studied her, the faint light from her crown reflecting in her eyes. "You think you can teach me something, little human?" "I think," Lena said carefully, "you came here to learn something. Otherwise you wouldn't have come yourself." The Queen stopped in front of her. She was taller by almost a head, her presence commanding, her aura strange and beautiful. "You presume much?" "I teach children," Lena said gently. presuming hope is my job. Something in Seraphine's gaze flickered. She turned away and gestured toward a window, a translucent panel that revealed the blue curve of Earth below. Your world burns, the Queen said. Your cities drown in greed. Your species turns on itself. Tell me, teacher, what is there to love? Lena looked at the planet and her throat tightened. Everything, she whispered. Even the broken parts, Seraphine frowned. Explain. Because love isn't about perfection, Lena said, her voice trembling slightly. It's about choosing to care even when everything hurts. We fight, yes. We make mistakes. But we also build. We forgive. We hope when there's no reason to. Isn't that worth something? The Queen was silent. The hum of the ship filled the pause, soft and steady like a heartbeat. When Seraphine finally spoke, her voice was quieter. Your words are strange. To us, emotion clouds judgment. Attachment leads to ruin. Then maybe that's why you came, Lena said softly, to remember what it's like to feel. The Queen's eyes lifted toward her with a flicker of something sharp, something human. For a heartbeat, the ruler of 1,000 worlds looked almost lost. You think love is strength? Seraphine said. I know it is, Lena replied. It's what kept us alive through wars, storms, and silence. It's the reason we look up at the stars even when they scare us. The Queen turned back toward the window. Earth's lights glittered faintly below like scattered jewels across a wounded surface. Your kind is strange, she murmured. Maybe that's the beauty of it, Lena said with a small smile. The Queen didn't answer, but her gaze lingered on the blue planet long after Lena's words faded. When she finally spoke again, it wasn't to her guards, but to the ship itself. Prepare the observation wing, she said. The human will stay. Lena blinked. Stay? You wish to show me your world, Seraphine said, turning slightly. Then show me. Teach me this. Love your species' values so dearly. Lena's breath caught. The Queen was serious, and so began a quiet, impossible journey. An alien queen and a human teacher, walking side by side through memories, stories, and silences that neither fully understood. It was not peace yet. It was not forgiveness. But it was the first step toward something far greater, and deep inside her, Seraphine felt something she hadn't in centuries. A small, quiet pulse of warmth that no science could explain. The days that followed aboard the Etherian mothership were unlike anything Lena could have imagined. The corridors curved in gentle spirals, their walls rippling with pale bioluminescent light. Every room responded to touch and voice as if the ship itself was alive, and in a way it was. The Etherians had long merged with their machines, building ships that thought, breathed, and remembered. To Lena, it all felt impossibly foreign. Yet she found beauty in it, the same kind of beauty she saw in old libraries where silence held the echo of stories. The Queen kept her promise. Each day, Seraphine called Lena to a vast chamber known as the observation wing, a hall of shimmering glass that overlooked Earth below. There they would speak, sometimes for hours, sometimes in silence. At first, their conversations were cold, more like interrogations than dialogue. What drives your kind to destroy what it loves? The Queen would ask, and Lena would answer, because sometimes we don't know how to love until we lose it. Seraphine found that answer unsatisfactory, but she never stopped asking. One evening, as the two stood watching storms roll across the Atlantic, Lena took out the tattered book she had carried since the invasion. The Queen's gaze fixed on it. That object has no energy, no code. Why do you keep it? It's called a book, Lena said, running her fingers across the worn pages. It's a story about a traveler who met a little prince from another world. He learned that love isn't something to own, it's something to understand. Seraphine's brow furrowed. You preserve words? You keep them even when they fade? Words are how we remember what matters, Lena said. Sometimes they're all that survive when everything else is gone. The Queen stepped closer. Read it. Lena hesitated, then opened the book. Her voice trembled at first, but as she read, the sound filled the glass hall like the heartbeat of something ancient and gentle. When she reached the line, "It is only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye." Seraphine's expression changed. Invisible. The word struck her like a whisper through steel. For centuries, her kind had worshipped logic and efficiency. They had eliminated pain, fear, even attachment. They had achieved perfection but lost wonder. "What is this heart you speak of?" she asked quietly. "It's the part of us that breaks and heals," Lena said. "The part that makes everything mean something." The Queen turned toward the stars. "We do not have that. We removed it long ago to survive." Lena looked at her, sadness softening her voice. "Then maybe surviving isn't the same as living." For a long time, neither spoke. The storm below shimmered like veins of lightning dancing over the dark sea. Then, almost hesitantly, the Queen said, "Your words carry warmth." "I feel it, but I cannot define it." Lena smiled faintly. "You don't need to define love, Your Majesty. You just need to feel it once, and you'll understand everything it can change." That night, the Queen did not summon her council. She dismissed her guards early and lingered alone in the observation wing. The human's words echoed in her mind. Refusing to leave. Invisible. Heart. Warmth. She placed a hand against the glass, feeling the faint pulse of Earth's light below, and for the first time she wondered, not about humanity's weakness, but about its secret strength, the kind of strength that sang even in ruin. And though Seraphine did not yet understand it, something had begun to shift deep within her, a quiet rebellion in her heart, one that no empire could command. The next day, the Queen summoned Lena not to the observation wing, but to a place hidden deep within the ship. The corridors grew quieter, the air warmer, scented faintly of water and silver. When the door slid open, Lena gasped. It was a garden, but unlike any on Earth, soft light poured from the ceiling like liquid dawn. Trees of glassy white swayed gently, their leaves humming in delicate tones. Pools shimmered with light instead of water, and blossoms opened like stars breathing in slow rhythm. "This is the Heart Garden," Seraphine said. "It preserves the last living forms from Ethria, my homeworld. Nothing grows there anymore. We keep this as a memory." Lena walked slowly among the glowing trees, her reflection flickering across the light pools. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "It is." "Orderly," the Queen replied. "Every leaf is placed as designed. No decay, no scent, no waste." Lena bent down, touching one of the luminous petals. It felt cool and perfect, but lifeless. "Do they ever change?" "Change?" The Queen frowned. "No, perfection must not change." Lena looked up at her. "Then it's not life, Your Majesty. It's just a picture." Seraphine tilted her head. "A picture?" "Life is messy," Lena said gently. "It grows the wrong way. It breaks things and starts over. It needs to fall before it stands again." The Queen's expression softened, curiosity flickering beneath her calm. "You mean chaos?" "Maybe," Lena said. "But that's how we learn. That's how we love. We grow through our mistakes." The Queen was silent for a while, her gaze lost in the shimmering garden. "When I was a child," she said quietly, "Ethria still had real forests. I used to walk among them. My tutors scolded me for touching the soil. They said it was impure. But I remember the warmth, the scent of rain." Her voice trailed off. Lena smiled faintly. "Sounds like you loved it." Seraphine looked at her, startled. "We were not permitted to love." "Then maybe you still did," Lena whispered. "You just didn't have a word for it." Something broke in the Queen's composure then, a hairline crack in centuries of command. Her fingers brushed a leaf that glowed brighter at her touch. "Perhaps I did," she murmured. They walked together through the luminous grove. The silence between them was different now, no longer a wall but a quiet understanding. As they reached the center of the garden, Lena paused. "Could I plant something here?" The Queen blinked. "Plant? Nothing grows here without design." "I'd like to try," Lena said. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a tiny seed, wrapped in cloth. A seed she had kept from her classroom's old courtyard garden before the invasion. "It's from a daisy, a flower from Earth." Seraphine hesitated, then gestured to a small patch of untouched light soil. "Do as you wish." Lena knelt, her fingers trembling slightly as she pressed the seed into the ground. "It might not grow here," she said, "but maybe it'll remember that someone tried." The Queen watched, her expression unreadable. Days later, when she returned to the Heart Garden alone, Seraphine noticed a faint shimmer at that very spot, a fragile green sprout, glowing softly against the sterile white. Her breath caught. Life, unplanned life. She knelt, something tightening in her chest. It was small, delicate, imperfect, and yet it moved her in ways she could not name. In that fragile bloom, she felt what Lena had tried to teach her, that love was not control. It was faith. And as the queen rose, her reflection glimmering in the pool beside the tiny daisy, a single thought filled her mind, strange and new. Perhaps humanity's greatest weapon was never its machines, but its heart. The daisy changed everything. Whispers spread among the Etherian council, rumors that their queen had allowed wild growth aboard the mothership. To them, it was a breach of sacred design, an insult to the perfection their empire had built over millennia. But Seraphine said nothing. She spent her evenings in the heart garden, watching that fragile sprout reach toward artificial sunlight, its petals trembling with a kind of defiance. And every so often, she would hear Lena's words in her mind. Maybe surviving isn't the same as living. It unsettled her more than any weapon ever had. That day, Lena was brought again to the observation wing. Outside, Earth glowed beneath a veil of clouds, scarred but still alive. Seraphine stood before the window, hands clasped behind her back, her silver eyes fixed on the planet below. "My generals question your presence here," the queen said quietly. "They believe you're poisoning my thoughts." "Am I?" Lena asked softly. The queen turned. "I do not know." Lena smiled faintly. "Then maybe it's not poison. Maybe it's healing." Seraphine frowned. "Healing implies something broken." "Maybe something is," Lena said gently. "You've built a perfect world, but it doesn't breathe. You've made yourself untouchable, but you've forgotten what it feels like to be touched." The words struck deeper than Lena knew. The queen's composure faltered for a heartbeat. "You think me hollow?" "I think," Lena said, stepping closer, "you're lonely." Silence fell, thick and absolute. Even the ship's hum seemed to pause. For a long time, the queen said nothing. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "On Ethria, we erased loneliness. We merged minds, shared thoughts, felt no separation. Then why did you still feel alone?" Seraphine looked at her sharply. But the truth lingered between them like the soft glow of dawn. "I was chosen to lead," she said at last, "to think without bias, to rule without heart. But when I walk through my ship among my own people, I see only reflections of myself. No one dares look into me anymore." Lena's voice softened. "Maybe that's why you came to Earth, to see something real." The queen turned back to the stars, her jaw tightening. "Perhaps. But now my council demands action. They call for conquest. They say humanity cannot be allowed to rise again." Lena's pulse quickened. "And you?" Seraphine hesitated. "I no longer know." Her words trembled slightly, and for the first time Lena saw it. Fear. Not the fear of defeat, but of feeling too much. Just then, the chamber lights flickered. A low tone filled the air, urgent, sharp. One of the Queen's guards rushed in and dropped to one knee. "Your Majesty, the Eastern Fleet has initiated planetary strike protocols. They no longer await your command." Seraphine's eyes widened. "Without orders? They claim Earth has resisted again. They move to cleanse the surface." The Queen's voice was like thunder breaking through glass. "Cancel it." The guard hesitated. "It's too late, my queen. The weapons are primed." Lena's heart pounded. "You can stop them, can't you?" Seraphine's face hardened. "If I act against the council, I become traitor to my own throne." "Then be one," Lena said, stepping forward. "If the price of compassion is rebellion, pay it." The queen turned to her, her silver eyes burning with conflict. For centuries, she had commanded galaxies, silenced empires, crushed rebellions with a single word. But never had a single human voice shaken her like this. She stared down at Lena, the teacher, the girl who bowed to the sky, and for a heartbeat, Seraphine no longer saw an inferior being. She saw a mirror, and when the command echoed through her ship, "Commence planetary strike," the queen whispered. "Not today." With a wave of her hand, the mothership roared to life, its engines burning brighter than dawn. For the first time in Etherian history, a queen defied her own kind. The entire mothership trembled as alarms flared through its veins of light. The sound was not mechanical, it was alive, like a heartbeat pounding in pain. Red streams of energy pulsed through the corridors, signaling betrayal. Seraphine stood at the command dais, her cloak of silver light flowing around her like fire. The holographic map before her showed the Earth below, trembling beneath the approach of countless Etherian warships. Their weapons charged, pointed directly toward the fragile blue world. "Your Majesty," cried General Kale, his voice cutting through the hum. "You cannot override the council's order. It will be seen as treason." The Queen's voice was calm, almost too calm. "Then let it be treason." Gasps rippled through the chamber. Her words were final, unshakable. "Deactivate the strike codes," she commanded. Kyle stepped forward. Our laws are not life," she thundered. "If obedience demands the death of innocents, then it is not law, it is madness." The general froze. None had ever heard their queen raise her voice. None had ever seen the faint shimmer of tears in her eyes. Behind her, Lena stood still, her hand pressed to her chest. She wanted to speak, but she knew this moment wasn't hers. It belonged to the queen, the woman who had been taught never to feel, now defying a galaxy because she finally did. "Override confirmed," said the ship's voice. "Manual control transferred to sovereign authority." A shockwave of blue light burst outward from the mothership, rippling through space. The fleet paused, their systems confused by the override pulse. Seraphine exhaled, her composure cracking for just a moment. "Earth lives," she whispered, but the relief was short-lived. A new alarm blared, low and relentless. A crimson symbol appeared before her eyes. Council intervention, priority enforcement. Kyle paled. "They've activated the judgment protocol." Lena looked between them. "What does that mean?" Seraphine's face darkened. "It means they've taken control of the Royal Corps. They're coming for me." As if summoned by her words, the air shimmered. 5 towering holograms appeared, members of the Etherian High Council. Their faces were featureless masks of silver light. "Queen Seraphine," said the central figure, its voice echoing through every corridor, "you have broken the eternal code. You protect the unstable species that threatens galactic balance. You are hereby stripped of your command." The queen straightened, proud and fierce. "I have protected life, not chaos. You have shown weakness," the voice hissed. "Emotion is disease. Love is infection. You have forgotten who you are." Seraphine's tone hardened. "No, I have remembered who I was before I became your perfect machine." The holograms flickered in outrage. "Then you will be unmade." A blinding beam of energy lanced through the chamber, hitting the floor beside her. Guards raised their weapons, but Seraphine lifted her hand. "Stand down." Lena stepped forward. "They'll destroy you." "Stop this." Seraphine turned to her, and for the first time, she smiled. Not the cold, royal smile she wore for ceremony, but something real and painfully human. "Do you remember the story you read to me about the little prince?" she asked softly. Lena's breath caught. "Yes," he said, "what is essential is invisible to the eye. I understand now." And before Lena could speak again, the queen turned to face the council's wrath. "I will not surrender," she declared. "You can unmake my title, my crown, my flesh, but you cannot erase what I've felt. I have seen humanity's heart. I have seen love. And if that is weakness—" Her voice rose, echoing through the ship. "Then let every star burn with it." The chamber erupted in light, the connection severed, the council gone. Silence filled the air once more, trembling like the space between heartbeats. Seraphine fell to one knee, exhausted, her crown flickering. Lena rushed to her side. "You saved them. You saved us." The queen's eyes lifted weakly. "No, Lena, we saved each other." Outside, the fleet scattered in confusion, their control links broken. Earth remained untouched. The sky cleared, but far beyond the stars, the Etherian Empire began to move, and war was coming. The mothership drifted in silence above Earth, its once gleaming hull now cracked by the force of defiance. Alarms had stopped. The engines hummed like a heartbeat finally slowing after a storm. Inside, the queen lay weakened in her throne chamber, her silver crown dim, its light fading with her strength. Lena sat beside her, holding her hand, the same way she used to comfort frightened children during air raids. She could feel the faint pulse of warmth beneath Seraphine's cold skin. "You shouldn't have done that," Lena whispered. "They'll come for you." "They already are," Seraphine replied, her voice soft but steady. "But I do not regret it." Lena's eyes filled with tears. "You gave up everything." The queen looked at her and smiled faintly. "No, I found something, and for the first time in centuries I am no longer empty." Through the shattered window, Earth shone, blue and fragile, clouds swirling like brushstrokes on a divine canvas. The sight filled the room with a light gentler than any sun. "Do you know what your people did?" Seraphine murmured. "When the fleets descended, they didn't all fight. Some prayed. Some sang and some held one another. They looked at the sky not with hatred but with hope. Lena nodded. That's what humans do. We hope, even when we shouldn't. The Queen exhaled slowly, her gaze softening. It's a dangerous power. The most dangerous I've ever known. A distant rumble echoed through the ship. The Council's retaliation fleet was approaching, their engines blotting out stars one by one. Yet the Queen remained calm. I can delay them, she said. Long enough for your world to prepare. Lena tightened her grip. You can't fight them all. No, Seraphine said. But I can give them something they've forgotten. Choice. She pressed her palm against the glowing floor, and a ripple of light spread across the ship. Systems flickered, codes rewrote themselves, signals scattered. What are you doing? Lena asked. Sending them what you gave me, the Queen said quietly. A memory. And then Lena saw it, the ship projecting images into the void. Millions of holographic pulses spreading across the fleet like sparks carried by wind. Images of the daisy blooming in the heart garden, of children laughing on earth, of rain falling on broken streets, of Seraphine standing beside a human teacher beneath a wounded sky. Each Etherian vessel received it. A silent story. The story of love. In the command decks of countless ships, alien soldiers hesitated. For the first time, they felt something unspoken stir inside, the ghost of what their ancestors had once known. Some turned their weapons aside. Some wept without knowing why, and then, one by one, the lights of the fleet dimmed. The armada stopped. Lena stared in disbelief. They're stopping? Seraphine's voice trembled. Even perfection cannot resist the truth forever. She leaned back, eyes half closed. You must tell them, Lena. Tell your people that not all who come from the stars seek to rule. Some come to learn. Lena squeezed her hand. And what about you? The Queen's smile was faint, radiant. I will rest. And if the stars remember me, let them not call me conqueror. She looked toward Earth one last time. Let them say I learned to love. The light of her crown faded completely then, scattering into soft silver motes that drifted upward like fireflies. The ship fell silent, its systems slowly dimming, alive no more, yet not dead. Lena stood in the quiet, tears tracing her cheeks, and whispered, You did, Seraphine. You really did. When the humans later looked up that night, they saw something miraculous. Thousands of alien ships lighting the heavens, their lights forming the shape of a single blooming flower, a daisy. And from that night onward, people would remember it not as the day the aliens came to destroy them, but as the day the alien queen learned humans were loving,